Ladies and gentlemen, good evening from French Guiana. Tonight, live from the European Space Center, we are bringing you a major event in the evolution of European television. Right now, a big Ariane 4 rocket stands poised on the launch pad here, ready to put into orbit Astra 1E, the first European satellite fully dedicated to digital television broadcasting. We are now just 28 minutes and 9 seconds away from launch. Our weather tonight is perfect. All systems are go. And we would like to extend a warm welcome to all our viewers around the globe and across Europe. My name is Paul Chutko, and broadcasting with me tonight is Eckhard Weinrich of Ariane Space.
Good morning. Bonjour. Guten Morgen. Now we are going to talk a little bit on the specifics of tonight's video transmission. Tonight's video transmission will reach most of the parts of the globe, the United States, Tokyo, and of course Europe.
And thanks to Astra, in fact, and its clients, we're going to be broadcasting all across Europe tonight.
Launch window will be from Universal Time 0 hour 38 through 1 hour 56. The Kourou launch site allows launching at an angle of 110 degrees between southeast and north, and tonight's launch vehicle will be a 42L with a total mass at liftoff of 367 tons and a payload mass of 3,010 kilograms.
Right now, of course, the Astra 1E is folded up in the fairing at the top of the rocket. Its solar panels are snug against its walls, and of course they'll be deployed later.
The orbit into which Astra will be injected is an augmented geostationary transfer orbit, where it will be located later on a geostationary orbit at 90.2 degrees east.
There's a beautiful shot of the launcher on its pad, outlined against the night sky. Our status panel here in Jupiter Control, where we're located, somewhat downrange, as you can see, is all green. That means all systems are go at now 26 minutes and 11 seconds. Eckhard, we were supposed to launch Astra 1E last Saturday night. What happened?
Well, we had an anomaly on an electronic card, and to be on the safe side, we have decided to replace it on this vehicle.
We're going to take a closer look now at the different indications on our green status panel. We're going to follow tonight's flight via this status panel, now all green. It will tell you exactly how this mission is progressing. We're going to focus first on the lanceur, the launch vehicle itself.
Yes, the launch vehicle is monitored from the CDL and depends on the COEL's advice.
We're going to watch the status of Astra 1E satellite.
Status of the spacecraft is monitored from S1 building.
And of course the weather, the meteo.
Meteorological conditions are monitored days before and minutes before the launch, and will depend on specific criteria.
Synchro.
Synchronization is the clocks throughout the Guyana Space Center.
Logistique.
Logistics is the power, of course, the various fluids, as well as the air conditioning for the buildings.
Localization.
Localization means radar. In Kourou and in Natal.
Transmission.
Transmission is the interlink between Kourou and the various sites.
Telemetry.
Telemetry is the link between the launch vehicle and ground to gather all useful information throughout the flight.
Finally, mission security.
Mission security is flight safety, which monitors any deviation from the nominal trajectory.
Back live now in Jupiter Control, 24 minutes away from tonight's launch. One of the beauties of this mission tonight is that we're going to be following the work of 3 absolutely top-notch teams. In fact, teams that are among the best in the world at what they do. Ariane Space, Astra, and Hughes Space and Communications. Eckhard, let's focus now on some of tonight's key players and at the Ariane team right here in Mission Control.
Well, we have here the range operations manager is Mr. Yves Raymond tonight. We have on his right the mission director, Philippe Roland from Ariane Space. And we have also a little bit further away here at the Launch Vehicle Control Center, we have the COL. And the COL tonight is Mr. Jean Rebeu. He's in charge of monitoring the launch vehicle. And giving the greens for the lanceur.
There's a nice picture of the launcher. All systems are go, 22 minutes and 39 seconds, counting down. Beautiful night here in Kourou, very tropical weather. We're going to take a closer look in a moment at the organization Ariane Space and its different functions and its world presence, and of course its major presence in the world of commercial satellite launching.
Yeah, we have here Ralph Jäger and Mr. Claude Kievre, two senior VPs at Ariane Space.
And also Donald Krummer, head of Hughes Space and Communications. Here's a closer look at Ariane Space.
Formed in 1980 as the first industrial and commercial space transportation company in the world, Ariane Space operates the Ariane launch system developed by the French space agency CNES on behalf of the European Space Agency ESA. Ariane Space demonstrates European scientific and technical capabilities. It has the backing of the space industry and banks of 13 countries. Ariane Space operates worldwide, with its European headquarters at Évry, just outside Paris in France. A subsidiary in Washington, D.C. in the United States. A branch office for the Asia-Pacific zone located in Tokyo in Japan. And a launch complex with a unique geographical position in Kourou, French Guiana, close to the equator. Ariane Space is engaged in a long-term production program with its European space industry partners. Carefully regulated manufacture of the Ariane launches is permanently aimed at optimized quality, costs, and completion dates. Some 12,000 highly qualified Europeans are engaged in this manufacturing activity. The success of this venture is largely due to the power and cohesion of the industrial partners involved. The principal contractors are Aerospatiale, SEP, MBB Erno of the DASA Group, BPD of the Fiat Group, Matra Marconi Space, CASA, British Aerospace, and Oerlikon Contraves. The various launcher sub-assemblies are built in Europe and taken by sea, air, and land to the Kourou spaceport.
Our countdown is proceeding absolutely normally. We're now 19 minutes and 51 seconds away from liftoff. We're going to be taking a closer look now at Astra, which is a fascinating success story. A very small but very powerful company based in Betzdorf, Luxembourg. The name of the company, of course, is Société Européenne des Satellites. As we understand it, they're having a bit of a party tonight in Betzdorf. Their chef Gérard has prepared another big feast for the way he does on these occasions. We're going to be talking about a conversation we had earlier today with Mr. Roman Bausch, the new director of SES. We just saw a picture of Milton Torres, who's the brilliant technical director. There's Mr. Bausch. Next to him is Mr. Jean-Michel Desabeaux of Ariane Space. Now let's look at Astra.
Created in March 1985 and based in Luxembourg, Société Européenne des Satellites is the operator of the Astra system. The company employs over 170 staff from more than 15 different nations. It's this team of multinational professionals that ensures the success of the Astra satellite system. This is the Betzdorf Control Center, where communication with the Astra satellites is maintained around the clock. The large parabolic antennas are positioned to face directly towards Astra. They control and steer the satellites in space and also uplink programs. The Betzdorf Satellite Control Center has been considerably expanded for the upcoming satellites Astra 1E, 1F, 1G and 1H. The satellites are monitored and steered from one of these control units, equipped with at least 2 or 3 backup units. The individual channel transmitters on the satellites are called transponders and are monitored from this control room. In view of the digital transmissions via Astra, a digital network operations center has recently been installed. This room will be the monitoring and control center of hundreds of digital TV channels and services which will be offered by the future Astra satellites. The Astra footprint covers the greater part of Europe, from Scandinavia down to Italy, and from Spain, including the Canary Islands, across to Eastern Europe. For direct-to-home reception, all you need is a small fixed-dish antenna of 60 centimeters or more, correctly aligned on the orbital position of the satellites, a satellite receiver, both elements for less than the price of a good video recorder, as well as your existing television set. If you live in a group of houses or a block of flats, you can invest together in a shared Astra reception system so that everyone can receive the Astra program choice. There are also built-up areas where viewers may be able to get connected to a local cable network which carries the Astra programming underground. Astra is close to you. Through its active marketing, Astra provides consumers with detailed information about the program offer and optimal ways of reception, and participates in fairs and exhibitions throughout Europe. Today, the Astra satellite system already offers you a wide choice of television programming, be it general entertainment or thematic television, subscription services or programs transmitted in the clear. Additional audio subcarriers enable each channel to carry simultaneous language soundtracks for television or stereo radio channels. Astra offers alternative television and radio for everyone. The Astra system has been designed for the future needs and demands of TV viewers all across Europe. By co-locating additional satellites at the same orbital position of 19.2 degrees east, and by using digital compression, Astra will be able to offer an even greater number of programs, all available on a single fixed antenna. Astra, the satellite system for Europe.
There's the Ariane launcher with its 2 liquid strap-on boosters ready to go. 14 minutes and 46 seconds away from liftoff. Our status panel is all green. Absolutely good news. Eckhart, as we've seen all week here, we've been, as you know, poking our head around and looking in the various corners of the European Space Center here. And what we've found is that the Ariane, Astra, and Hughes teams all work side by side. I'd even say hand in glove. In fact, though, each of these units is made up of small elite units.
Yes, and one of these elite teams is the Air Guerriers, who will now take a closer look at this.
The filling crew. Tonight's Ariane launcher uses 2 liquid strap-on boosters, and these are the men who fill them.
They not only fill the liquid strap-on boosters, but also the first and the second stage, and they do maintain all the piping systems.
In fact, teams like this are what make Ariane the world leader that it is.
The suit weighs about 15 kilograms.
Réglementaire qui nous laisse en sécurité, évidemment, suivant les opérations que l'on fait.
Depending on the operations, this suit will protect them against gases.
Du lanceur lors du plein, on l'apporte à peu près 1 heure. Mais si on fait des dépotages, ça veut dire dans certains conteneurs, on amène du produit pour les mettre dans des citernes qu'on appelle les citernes de stockage. Là, on les porte.
If they transfer fluids between containers, they may wear this suit for about 6 hours.
It's a very demanding job these men do.
Well, it's nearly like astronauts, of course, because they have airtight systems with valves,
C'est une soupape de sécurité.
fine-tuning valve to tune the exhaust.
L'air.
And as you see, they need an assistant to put the suit on and to tune the airflow.
And of course, like everything else here, this particular team has been very, very carefully trained and evolved their equipment and their techniques over the years.
Of course, and they have very precise procedures to follow.
What's exciting in this craft is, of course, to work with the Ariane team and more. This is a unique craft. In fact, very few other places in the world are there men who do what these men do.
C'est un métier qui n'existe pas ailleurs, quoi.
There's the launcher poised on the launch pad, nicely lit up against the night sky. Our status panel's absolutely clear, 11 minutes and 43 seconds from the liftoff moment. Eckhart, tonight's launch really culminates a long and very precise chain of events, what we here call the launch campaign.
Yes, of course. With the current launch rate of 12 launches in 12 months, this campaign and these campaigns have to be tightly scheduled. We will now have an explanation of this campaign by Mission Director Philippe Roland.
The main parts of the Flight 79 launcher arrived in French Guiana with the new Ariane space boat, le Toucan. After transfer onto the launch pad, the first stage is hoisted onto the Ariane 4 table. Next day, the second stage, so-called L33, is mated onto the first stage by the Ariane Space launch team. 2 liquid boosters are fitted to the first stage in the preparation zone. The second stage and liquid boosters are built in Germany. The third stage, then, that arrived by plane in Rochambeau Airport, is then hoisted onto the second stage. The vehicle equipment bay, which is the brain of the launcher, is then attached to the top of the third stage. After mechanical and electrical checkout, the launcher is transferred onto the launch pad. At the very last moment of the campaign, the spacecraft Astra 1E is then hoisted and connected to the launcher, charging its batteries. 5 hours before H0, the gantry is moved away so that the third stage can then be filled just before liftoff.
We just got our last weather report, and it's absolutely clear and perfect for tonight's launch. 9 minutes and 22 seconds away now.
Yes, Paul. Everything is fine, and Astra is on top of the launch vehicle. Like the Ariane launcher, the Astra satellite has also come through a carefully planned chain of events, who we call the satellite campaign.
There's a nice shot, by the way, of Milton Torres and his right arm, Romulo Pontual, keeping in close touch with the Astra satellite. That computer is something quite unique, isn't it?
But in the meantime, we will have a look on the payload preparation campaign by Wiener Kernissen.
Spacecraft arrived in Kourou on September 14, fully integrated.
After an initial inspection to ensure that no damage has occurred during transportation, the Omni antenna is installed and functionally tested. This antenna will ensure communications between the satellite and the ground station on orbit. Deployment tests are conducted to ensure proper functioning of the Omni antenna. We then perform electrical functional tests to confirm the health of the satellite before fuel loading. Spacecraft is then fueled and mated to the Ariane adapter, which is the interface between the satellite and the launch vehicle. After encapsulation in the fairing, the composite is then transported to the launch pad and mated with the launcher. Only limited functional tests are performed on the pad. Battery charging operation will continue up to the launch. During the terminal countdown and final preparation for launch, a team of SES and US engineers complete the final spacecraft checks and configure the satellite for launch. They are presently located in the S1B facility at CSG and are in constant communication with the SES mission director at the Ariane Control Center in Jupiter and the US Mission Control Center located in El Segundo, California.
Go, no go. Go, no go criteria has been given. The spacecraft is ready for launch.
That was Anthony Perozzi, the test director for the Hughes satellite, and he was working side by side with Oliver Robinson and other engineers from Astra. Our status panel is absolutely clear. 6 minutes and 23 seconds, 22, 21, counting down. And Eckhart, we're now moving into a very critical moment in the evolution of this mission.
Yes, it's called the synchronized sequence, which will start at minus 6
À
minutes.
tous de DDO, attention pour le début de la séquence synchronisée. Top H0 moins 6 minutes.
At minus 6 minutes, we start the synchronized sequence. That is a fully automatic sequence, which is from now on up to H0 minus 5 seconds by 2 computers in the Ariane Launch Center, or CDL.
Those 2 computers actually control a whole series of operations being carried out on the satellite launcher.
Yes, it controls up to the first stage and liquid booster ignition later on, the engine parameter checkout, and the opening of the launch table clamps with the release as soon as the engine parameters are found nominal by one of the computers.
We're, of course, now 5 minutes and 11 seconds counting down. Those computers are monitoring all sorts of different bits of information. And, of course, this has been a very busy day here at the launch site for these Ariane engineers.
Here we see, let's have a look on this cryo arms, which will be retracted at about minus 5 seconds. On the left, you have the liquid hydrogen, and on the right, the liquid oxygen.
Our status panel is all clear as we go now to 4 minutes and 41 seconds. Eckhart, tell us a little bit about the other operations that have been happening throughout the day today. It's been very busy here at Kourou.
Yes, in fact, it started at 2:30 in the afternoon with the final count. Then we had at minus 5 hours 55 minutes the gantry withdrawal. That is 3,800 tons and Europe's highest steel structure on wheels.
The gantry, of course, is the protective structure that protects the launcher on the launch pad until it's ready to go.
That's correct. After the gantry withdrawal, we started at minus 3 hours 35 minutes the third stage filling operations with liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. And 1 hour ago, we activated the launcher telemetry, the radar transponders, and the telecommand system. And just a few minutes ago, we loaded the flight program in the computer.
Well, we're nearing now a very key moment for European television. the opening of the digital frontier in European broadcasting. Thanks to Astra 1E, Astra customers across Europe, of which there are about 20 million households now, are soon going to have a wealth of new TV channels and services at their fingertips. Right now they have more than 60 channels, but in 3 months they will have twice as many. And the Astra people assure us that in 6 months the Astra customers will have more than 3 times the number of channels they have now.
Some of the specifics of this spacecraft, for example, which weighs at liftoff 3,010 kilograms, is the onboard power of 5.5 kilowatts and carrying 18 Ku band transponder plus 6 spares, which gives a transmission capacity, depending on the level of compression, from 54 to 108 digital TV channels.
Those specifications of the Astra 1E that's sitting now on top of the Ariane launcher, those are the criteria that are going to bring this digital frontier into homes all the way across Europe. And we'll be talking further about what the new Astra services will look like once we get the launch underway. At this stage, we're 2 minutes and 23 seconds and counting down. I think it's safe to say we can all feel a rising sense of anticipation about this launch. This is, of course, the 5th Astra launch that Ariane has done. These two teams have been working in lockstep for many years now. We're coming up to a 2-minute mark, and I'm sure everybody here has got their eyes glued to the status panel and very eagerly awaiting. Eckhard, give us a quick look at what we can be following in these final minutes. What's actually happening on the ground and with the launcher?
Well, a few minutes ago, at minus 3 minutes and 40 seconds, the spacecraft has switched to onboard power. Right now, in a few seconds, at minus 1 minute, the launch vehicle will do the same. Then, at minus 9 seconds, the inertial platform will be released. And minus 5 seconds, the command to open the cryogenic arms will be given. So that's the last picture we will see when the cryogenic arms will open.
Right. Have you been following the director of operation, his eyes glued to the screen? We're 1 minute and 14 seconds. This countdown is proceeding absolutely as it should. Our status panel
Tous
is...
de DDO, attention pour H0 moins 1 minute. Top, moins 1 minute.
Minus 1 minute, our status panel is green. And what we're going to do right now is retreat a bit to the background so that our viewers around the world and across Europe can live this momentous launch live the way we are right here at Jupiter Control. We're going to simply back away now and let, at 37 seconds, our viewers watch it. Seconds.
À tous de DDO, attention pour décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top.
We have ignition.
Allumage F220 pâle.
We have liftoff.
Pression foyer normale.
Look at those Viking engines.
It's a wonderful picture. Viking engines.
Sont normaux.
The big Ariane 4 roaring up into the night sky.
367 tons, that is 2 747s. Imagine 2 747 lifting up vertically.
Pression foyer F220 pâle normale.
So far, all parameters are normal. Everything functioning as it's supposed to. As Ariane lifts the big Astra 1E out toward the frontier of digital broadcasting.
Les pressions foyer sont normales.
Director of Operations telling us that all parameters are normal.
Le pilotage est normal.
We're going to be following these particular indications on our screen tonight. Eckhard, give us a quick rundown of what we're looking at by way of data.
Well, we see her on the right side. First, let's have a look on the right side. We see here several letters. In the lower right corner, we have a V, that means speed. That is the speed build-up of the launch vehicle.
Hang on a second.
Pilotage et trajectoire normale.
We can hear it going over our heads right now. The building is shaking. It's absolutely right over our heads now. Go ahead.
Okay, we are already at an altitude that is the A above of 14 kilometers and rising. The
Les
moyen,
éléments de vol sont normaux.
that is the radar which follows the launch vehicle. The S below means the angle under which it sees the launch vehicle, and the T on top is the time since liftoff. On your left side you see the ground track, the nominal ground track,
Pression
with a
foyer,
white
pilotage
plot.
normaux, la trajectoire est normale.
Trajectory is absolutely normal.
Coming
Everything
back
seems to be right on course. Excuse me, Eckert. Everything seems to be right on course in this first stage burn.
Coming back to the display, the ground track, nominal ground track with the plot is the actual ground track, and in the
Extinction des propulseurs à point liquide.
we have liquid
Séparation des propulseurs.
liquid booster extinction and separation of liquid boosters.
They've been
Pression
jettisoned.
foyer du premier étage normal.
All is normal.
Now we're going to be following that arc that we see on our screen, which is the exact flight pattern.
Pilotage normal,
Flight
pression
pattern.
foyer stable.
With the actual flight pattern superimposed to the pre-programmed, and we are soon approaching the separation of the first and second stage.
Right, that's a major moment in the early stages of this launch. Waiting for that momentarily.
L'altitude et la vitesse sont correctes, les éléments de vol sont normaux.
All elements are normal.
Extension 220,
We have now
séparation 1-2,
separation first and second stage.
So now we begin the second stage burn.
allumage deuxième étage, pression foyer normale, tous les paramètres sont normaux.
Good. Ignition of the second stage is normal. And we seem to be right on course on Flight 79.
And the whole launch vehicle is now down to 56 tons from the 367 initial ones.
Coming up to another key moment here, the jettisoning of the fairing.
We'll soon approach this moment.
Séparation des coiffes.
Okay, we're right on course. What does that mean, separation and the jettisoning of the fairing? There's a good look at it in
Well,
simulation.
At this altitude, there's no more atmosphere.
Tous les paramètres sont normaux, la pression foyer est stable.
And so we don't need any more these shells protecting the spacecraft from dust and rain and such things on the ground.
So the Astra 1E is now on top of that rocket, basically open to the sky.
Absolutely correct. And we're already at an altitude at 144 kilometers at a speed at 3.5 kilometers per second.
We have another minute or so of the second stage burn.
Le pilotage est normal, les pressions sont normales.
Perhaps it's a moment we can take to share with our viewers a conversation we had today with Roman Bausch, the new Director General of SES. He made some very interesting points. He said that this launch makes SES only
L'altitude et
one
la
of
vitesse sont normales.
only one of 4 companies in the world to have launched 5 satellites with Ariane space. He also said that the Astra 1E will open the Astra network for the first time to French language programming via their clients Canal Plus and CLT. We're coming up now to the end of the second stage
Tous les
burn.
paramètres sont normaux.
All parameters are normal. The flight is absolutely on course.
Fin de propulsion du deuxième étage. Séparation deuxième et troisième étage.
We have
Allumage
separation,
du troisième étage.
separation,
La pression foyer est normale.
second and third stage, and ignition of third stage. All parameters are normal, and speed is 4.9 kilometers per second and rising.
Mr. Bausch also made 2 other points about Astra 1E, Eckhart, about
Tous
the
les paramètres
new
propulsifs sont normaux.
choices it's going to offer Astra customers.
Yes, 2 new options are available to Astra consumers. Essentially pay-per-view movies, and also extended sports coverage, Olympics, World Cup, and, for example, Grand Prix of Belgique.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the things we'll be talking about in a moment is what we call the downrange stations. This launch tonight is being followed by tracking stations moving out to the east. And
Les paramètres sont normaux.
we'll be talking about the fact that the telemetry will be taken over by different stations momentarily.
Yeah, not only telemetry, of course, but also the radar
Pression,
will,
foyer, réservoir sont normales.
at the first stage, radar from Kourou will track the launch vehicle, then Natal in Brazil will take over, and finally the radar station on Ascension Island.
Right. Eckhard, you mentioned the Grand Prix of Belgium. They ran a test recently, the Astra people, and they put cameras in different cars in the Grand Prix of Belgium. And the viewers around the continent of Europe could follow the race from different cars, but they got to choose the car they wanted to watch from. Imagine what this is going to mean
L'altitude et la vitesse sont correctes. Tous les paramètres sont normaux.
when it comes to the Olympics or the World Cup. Yves Elson, the marketing director of SES, put it rather well, I thought. He said, now, every spectator with Astra will be his own program director. If they want to follow a particular series of events at the Olympics or a particular team at the World Cup, they can do so themselves. They make their own choices. It's a whole new way of interacting with your television. It's very exciting.
So if I understand you well, you could be seated in the driver's seat of your favorite driver at the Grand Prix of Belgique, for example, and then switch to the camera of the next car and so
Tous les
on.
éléments propulsifs du troisième étage sont normaux.
Okay. We are
La
now
trajectoire est normale.
We are now 8 minutes and 2 seconds into this flight. Everything is on course for Flight 79. The Astra 1E is moving toward its rendezvous with the digital frontier. So far, so good. Eckhard, tell us a little bit more about the new services that the Astra 1E will be offering clients around Europe.
Well, of course, they will
Tous les
have
paramètres sont normaux.
they will offer films with different start times and essentially pay-per-view films. New services like home shopping, travel reservation, and home banking, for example. Electronic program guides and shopping catalogs. Computer games and PC software. Educational and training programs and other online services.
Tous les paramètres sont normaux. Pression, foyer et réservoir stable.
Yves Elson and other
Il reste
Astra
environ 10 minutes à pousser.
and other Astra executives were telling us that there are two main advantages of all this for the consumer, in addition to the much larger choice of services and channels. Part of it's going to be much simpler equipment to use. It's going to be quite simple to upgrade the existing equipment, the
Le
analog
pilotage est
equipment.
normal.
And it's there because there's a whole new way of displaying the programming through an electronic program guide. It's going to be much easier for viewers to select the shows they want to follow. It's quite exciting, I must say.
Yep.
Eckhard, what are we watching now at this stage? We're 9 minutes and 31 seconds in. What should we be looking for?
Well, we shall be looking now for a long flight of the third stage.
Pression, foyer, réservoir stable et normal.
We should reach a speed which is right now at 5.6 and 5.7 kilometers and raising. We should reach a
Let me point out that that's 5.7 kilometers per second.
Yes, that's correct. And we shall reach about 9.7
Trajectoire normale, le
kilometers per
pilotage est
second
calme.
to have the right satellisation speed.
Eckhard, this Astra 1E is going to be have an expanded life expectancy of up to 15 years. What accounts for this increased life expectancy?
Tonight's flight is a little bit different from the normal ones because of the extra performance we have available. We made possible a different orbit than the usual one. That means we will raise the perigee altitude at injection to 485
Tous les paramètres propulsifs
kilometers
sont normaux. La trajectoire est normale.
to 405 kilometers instead of the usual 200. And the inclination, which is already very low here in Kourou and normally 7 degrees, we will reduce this to 4.2 degrees.
So Ariane and Astra together are basically optimizing the performance of this mission.
Exactly. And that will give additional lifetime for the spacecraft user.
Right, well, we're 11 minutes and
Acquisition de la station Ascension.
12 seconds in. They've just made an announcement about our downrange tracking stations.
Yes, Ascension Island, the downrange station, captured the launch vehicle and is tracking it from now on until it will be taken over later by Libreville. The acquisition in Libreville is only telemetry.
Let's talk a little bit more about Ariane right now. Astra 1E is opening a new chapter in the history of SES, but in fact Ariane Space is moving toward a new chapter as well, Ariane 5.
Yes, there has been enormous progress that one can see in the completion of the Ariane ground facilities here, specifically in Kourou. Many tests have been made, the buildings are ready, and the infrastructure basically in Kourou is ready for a spring launch in 1996.
Tell me, Eckhart, for those of us that are not thoroughly conversant with the evolution of the world of satellites, the Ariane 5 launcher is going to be able to accomplish things that the highly successful Ariane 4 cannot do. What exactly will it offer by way of new advantages?
Tous les paramètres sont normaux, le pilotage est régulier.
To keep it simple, tonight we are launching a spacecraft of about 3 tons. With Ariane 5 we could launch one with more than twice as much. Also, Ariane 5 will be able to carry about 18 tons in the space station orbit, which is now in the planning stage.
Up to now, Ariane has been a consortium of European industrial partners, all joined, of course, to launch predominantly commercial satellites. With Ariane 5, though, Eckhart, the horizons of Ariane are going to be a bit broader.
Already today on the horizon we can see plans for joint ventures with companies outside Europe, including plans to develop various space transportation means, including manned missions, of course.
Right, we're now 13
Pilotage
minutes,
et trajectoire normaux.
22 seconds, 24 seconds into this flight. As you can see, the flight of Ariane is absolutely on course. That's Mr. Bausch taking a close look at it with Mr. Desavaux. Feeling very good so far about the way this flight is going.
Yeah, tonight we are opening a new era in European TV, and tomorrow we will help open exciting new eras in global telephone services, possibly also.
Tous les paramètres sont stables, la trajectoire est normale.
Right, our next major event is going to be, of course, the extinction of the third stage. Of course, when we do put this into orbit, Eckhart, there's still a couple of things that have to be done with the Astra satellite. It's not going to happen tomorrow that this will be operational.
No, it will take a time.
Yeah, in fact, there's going to be deployment of solar panels to take care of and testing and whatnot. We'll go through that in detail a little bit later, but right now we're waiting, of course, for the completion of this third stage. Looks like it's absolutely on course. Mr. Ralph Yeager, Ariane Space. Maybe you should tell us a bit,
normaux, la trajectoire est normale.
give us a quick idea of what those satellite transfer orbit operations will be in very specific terms.
Well, after the separation from the launch vehicle, Astra 1E will follow a GTO trajectory, that means geostationary transfer orbit, which will lead it over Australia, or towards Australia, where the first acquisition by the ground station in Perth will occur about 3 hours after liftoff. And later on, 26 hours after launch at the third apogee, the apogee motor will be ignited. And that is one of 5
Tous les éléments propulsifs sont normaux.
ignitions of this engine. And finally the deployment of solar panels and reflectors will take place about 6 days after liftoff, and towards the end of the year the satellite will be put into service.
Now that we're 15 minutes, 42 seconds into this flight, everything is normal, everything is on course. Let's take a little closer look at the third industrial partner in all this, Hughes Space and Communications to be specific. This afternoon we spoke with Don Cromer, president of Hughes Space and Communications. He's a wonderful fellow, retired 3-star general from the U.S. Air Force, and he made several points that I thought were very important. Number one, Ariane Space is Hughes' largest single industrial industrial partner in commercial satellites.
Yes, and indeed, we have launched 31 Hughes-built satellites, including the Astra 1E, which has been launched tonight.
He also made the point that these, as we've been making all night long, how closely these teams work
Par
together.
les moyens de Natal.
Okay, we've just been...
Acquired by the ground station in Natal.
Exactly. Don Cromer was telling us that these two teams work so closely together that they've been able to
Les paramètres
reduce...
propulsifs sont normaux, il reste environ 2 minutes à pousser.
About 2 more minutes now in the third stage burn. They've been able to reduce their launch campaigns from 6 weeks to 3 weeks. And the results, of course, are clear. They've been able to halve their operational costs at that stage of the operation.
Yes, in fact, they have cut the campaign from 6 to 3 weeks, and which resulted in reduced operational cost.
Right. He also underlined the importance of the Hughes partnership with Astra. Don Cromer mentioned that SCS is contracted for 6 Hughes satellites.
Acquisition par la station de Libreville.
And Eckhart, the next 2 satellites that Astra has got
Tous les
coming
éléments propulsifs sont normaux. La trajectoire est normale.
represent a major upgrade of the Hughes 601 that we're launching here tonight.
Yes, in fact, the HS601, which we'll see tonight,
Il reste environ 1 minute à pousser.
1 more minute on the third stage burn.
has a power of 5.5 kilowatt and is tailored directly for SES needs. Tomorrow, these spacecraft will be with higher power of 7 to 8 kilowatts.
Much more
Tous
powerful.
les paramètres sont normaux.
Finally, Don Cromer made a point of this. He was very proud of a dual achievement of Hughes. The first fully digital satellite launched in America was a Hughes satellite.
And was launched by Ariane Space.
Right, and now the first fully digital satellite launched in Europe was also built by Hughes.
And launched by Ariane Space.
So we see very clearly that these 3 partners have just absolutely been moving forward in the world of telecommunications rapidly and almost in lockstep. One development leads to the other. If you move forward in Astra, you move forward in Ariane and Hughes as well. It's quite exciting to see what's happening. We're now...
Fin de propulsion du 3e étage.
The extinction of the third stage marks now a period during which the composite, that means the remaining third stage with the spacecraft, will be oriented towards the separation attitude.
Right, and this is all happening at 18 minutes and 58 seconds into this flight. It's absolutely on course so far. Picture perfect up to this point, 19 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yes, we still will have a certain time before the Astra satellite will be separated from
Phase
the third
d'orientation du
stage.
composite.
We see the Astra team.
Yeah, and Mike Kaiser of Hughes just behind him, one of the great veterans of these launch campaigns, sitting behind him. And I know that Anthony Perozzi and his team, Greg Zane, Paul Angola, Patrick Jasanis, Tony Zumwalt, Dillard Leslie, and Mark Jacobson, Chuck Vernal, all that team, the Hughes team is keeping very close eye
Normalement.
on the evolution of this mission and the health of their Hughes-built satellite. There's Mike Kaiser, phone to his ear, checking with his ground crew undoubtedly. 20 minutes now into the flight and everything is absolutely on course.
Don Cromer.
Absolutely. Eckhart, tell us, this particular Hughes 601 is modular in conception and design.
Yes, the model was introduced in '87 to meet anticipated requirements for higher power, and it was also designed to be much easier to build and faster to
Début
build.
de la mise en rotation du composite.
They're starting to spin the satellite, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yes, that's correct. They're spinning up the satellite. As I said, the HS601 is composed of two modules, the primary structure that carries all launch vehicle loads and propulsion system, and the payload module that holds communications equipment and isothermal heat pipes, reflectors, and so on.
We're coming up to the critical moment. the injection into orbit. We're waiting for word now. Everybody's waiting for this key announcement.
Séparation du satellite Astra 1E.
There you are, separation of Astra 1E, injection into orbit. Mr. Roman Bausch, very excited. Mike Kaiser shaking hands with Romulo Pontual and Milton Torres. Very excited, as you can see, smiles here. I imagine there might be a champagne cork or two popping in Betzdorf at this moment. And I guess we can say at this stage that all this teamwork we've been talking about has paid off. And as we've been noticing here all week, and we can probably all join in the sigh of relief, that teamwork, Eckhart, doesn't confine itself only to the satellite.
Well, yes. We have seen them right on the soccer field last week in a fierce competition. I don't tell you who won the game, but it was a real hard competition.
Absolutely. They play several times a week at the end of the afternoon, and I imagine the next time they play, it's going to be under much more relaxed circumstances. In a few moments, we're going to be hearing from both Ralph Yeager of Ariane Space and Mr. Bausch, and we will have that, they will be speaking in French, and we will have simultaneous translation into English. Our colleagues on the French side will, of course, not translate, and we're broadcasting around Europe now in these two languages. We're going to pause for a minute while we wait for somebody to take the microphone. You can see the general sense of relief right here at Jupiter Control. Successful launch. Mission 79 accomplished. I must say, Eckhart, it was a picture-perfect launch from start to finish.
Yes, absolutely. It was perfect, on track, and I suppose the orbital parameters, which we will know in about 15 to 20 minutes, will be showing the same perfect achievement.
Right, this is a very important launch for Ariane for several reasons.
Well, it's the 9th successful launch for this year. And what is interesting also to know that 6 weeks ago we have launched N-Star for the major Japanese telecom company NTT. 3 weeks ago we have launched Telstar 401 for the major American telecom company AT&T.
The target, of course, for this year is very ambitious. It's 12 launches for the year, and so far so good.
Yeah, including with Astra today, launch for SES, and the next launches, which will take place before the end of the year, we will hopefully reach our goal.
Absolutely. Now let me recommend to our viewers around the world, and particularly across Europe, don't go away. We've got some wonderful pictures coming of a replay from a different angle of this launch, and that's always one of the highlights of this show that we do. It's quite impressive to see that replay with the cameras from a much different angle than what we've seen up to now.
9, 8, 7,
Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top.
We have ignition.
Allumage à 220 étals.
We have
Décollage.
liftoff.
Pression foyer normale.
Look at those Viking engines.
It's a wonderful picture. Vikings.
Tous les paramètres propulsifs sont normaux.
The big Ariane 4 roaring up into the night sky.
367 tons, that is 2 747s. Imagine 2 747 lifting up vertically.
Pression foyer à 220 étals
So
normale.
far, all parameters are normal. Everything functioning. We're now going to hear from Ralph Yeager.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now you can see the stress level is going down. I can announce that Flight 79 has been successful. Astra has reached the stars, and I think that it's gone onto an excellent orbit. Flight 79 has succeeded, and therefore we have successfully launched our ninth flight for the year. The company's objective has been to launch 12 flights this year. We have come close to it now, and I would like to begin by congratulating the Astra teams, and especially its Director General, Romain Bosch, for the success, and to thank the company for the trust that they have had in Ariane for 5 launches now, in its launcher and in the European teams. I would also like to wish them a very good continuation for this flight into its final orbit, so that this satellite may be usefully serve this very great firm, which is SES, a European operator. I'd also like to thank and congratulate the Hughes teams who helped us to very quickly prepare the satellite so that we could continue to keep to our new accelerated launch rate for this year. I would above all like to address the teams from the CSG, the CNES, the French Space Center, and thank them for all the efforts that they have made so that we may, all of us together, keep the promises that we have made to our customers, who watch us with attention, sometimes perhaps with a little suspicion, but mostly with a lot of trust, so that we may succeed and we may continue to put into orbit all these satellites that are waiting for us. I am very optimistic, therefore, for our schedule for the end of the year. I think I may say that we have an appointment together in 3 weeks from now for the launch for ISO, and I think that together we will succeed in keeping up with our objective of 12 launches. I'm also extremely optimistic for 1996, which I think will bring us new successes, a lot of excitement. I can promise you that we will be putting in a lot of hard work, because many spacecrafts are waiting to be launched in 96, and after all, that is what we live for.
Ainsi, l'Europe montre bien quand l'industrie et les gouvernements travaillent ensemble.
The industrialists and the government work together. I think Europe can show what we are capable of doing, all of us together, the technicians, engineers, and salesmen, marketing people who are very motivated. They are now waiting for new programs, so that new companies can come up, like the Ariane program. So once again, I'd like to thank all of you and congratulate you for this success. Thank you for your trust. I'd like to wish all of you a very pleasant evening. Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from Mr. Roman Bausch, the new Director General of SES.
Mesdames, Messieurs, avec le lancement réussi d'Astra 1E, l'Europe a franchi une étape importante.
The successful launch of Astra 1E, Europe has gone into a new phase of direct television programs transmitted in digital format. We have today placed the keystone of a building in which, in the future, the European satellite operators, the European programmers, and European television viewers will be meeting together. I would like to begin by thanking all those who have taken part in the success of this operation. And to begin with, I would like to thank Ariane Space, which has now launched a 5th sort of satellite for us successfully. With this 5th launch, the SES has now gone into the top ranking 4 private operators of satellites in the world, and who have launched 5 or more satellites with Ariane Space so far. So we are the 4th company to come into this group. And I'd like to tell you that of these 4 companies, SES is the only private European satellite company. I would also like to thank Hughes Space and Communication, who have also built a 3rd satellite for us, which has been launched successfully. And last but not least, I would also like to thank all the collaborators of SES Astra, with a special mention for the technical team under the leadership of Milton Torres, our technical director, and all the colleagues here in Kourou, or who have worked on this task in Betzdorf or elsewhere. With the launch of Astra 1E, we are now going to be offering to a large number of customers the possibility of starting the broadcasting of digital TV. I would like to confirm the customers whom we've already announced and who will be able to start broadcasting on Astra 1E within a few weeks. Canal Plus, CLT, the Kirsch Beta Technik Group, Natolt, and ProSieben. There are other customers who have either signed with us or who will be signing very soon, and whose names I will be able to announce very soon. All these customers will have 18 transponders at their disposal, which will make possible about the broadcasting of about 100 different programs. And this will be the beginning of development of a whole lot of programs, which will continue with the launch of Astra 1F in March 96, 1G in May 1997, and 1H at the end of 1997. And then in about 18 months, we'll have about 500 programs at the disposal of the television viewers in Europe. And we are especially happy that with the launch of Astra 1E, we have reached a new language-speaking market, which is new for Astra. That's a French-speaking market with the Canal Plus and CLT. I'm sure that they will have a lot of good programs. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a continuation of an adventure which began just 6 years ago, but which is certainly not going to stop here. And I'm sure that we'll have other launches, and I'm sure that we'll be just as successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here's another look at the replay. Look at this replay, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the orange and the beautiful colors. Totally different view. It's from a hilltop called Toucan here. It's an absolutely magnificent view of tonight's launch. Eckhart, as you said, this is an absolutely spectacular evening, of a successful evening for Ariane Space. And here's a wonderful way to relive the key moment. Beautiful replay. It's also a great night for Astra. And as Mr. Bausch made reference to, they've launched now 5 satellites in only the past 6 years. I'll tell you, we'll wrap up a bit with that in a moment, but what's our next rendezvous here at Kourou?
Well, the next launch is Flight 80, and that is on 10th of November with the ISO, scientific satellite for ESA.
Absolutely. And just to conclude, for the happy night about Astra, 6 years ago they had no satellites, no channels, and no clients. Now, you'll see our French colleagues saying goodnight, now this little company has got 5 satellites, and they're about to have hundreds of channels and millions of clients all across Europe. It's a tremendous success story, and one certainly worthy of the Ariane story as well. Good night to you. Eckhart, thank you very much. Good night to our viewers all across Europe.
It was a pleasure for me working with you, Paul, and hope to see you again here in Kourou.
Absolutely. We'll do more of these, I'm sure, sir. My pleasure. And our congratulations to everybody at Betzdorf, and all I can say is open up a bottle of champagne for us as well.
Guten Abend zu allen in Deutschland.
Bonne nuit tout le monde.
Bonne nuit.